Event Horizon, the sci-fi horror movie that didn't take anything by storm, but still left impact on cinema history. This beautiful blend of nerdy space plot devices and gruesome horror has garnered its own little fan base with no new media for nearly 3 decades. That is, until now. Hi, my name is Grifter, and today I will be talking about a fantastic, more recent horror comic I've read. It is a prequel to the 1997 sci-fi horror film Event Horizon. I will be breaking down this comic with you all, as well as giving you my thoughts on how it treats the legacy of the film. This is my one-shot on the comic written by Christian Ward with art by Tristan Jones, Event Horizon Dark Descent. As usual, all my socials and the creative team for the comic can be found in my description. Please support them because we couldn't get these fantastic projects without them. As you can tell by the title, yes, this is a prequel comic. It's the story about the original crew that boarded the titular Event Horizon before the events of the movie. So if you haven't seen the movie, this is a quick, poorly described summary of what it's about. The basic premise is about a space crew aboard their ship, the Lewis and Clark, that has been tasked with investigating another ship called the Event Horizon that was once thought to be lost, but has mysteriously reappeared near the orbit of Neptune. The crew consists of Captain S.J. Miller, Lieutenant M.L. Stark, Pilot W.F. Smitty Smith, Dr. William Billy Ware, Medical Technician Peters, Rescue Technician T.F. Cooper, Ensign F.M. Justin, and Medical Doctor D.J. What's special about this ship is it has something they call a gravity drive, which is basically an experimental device that allows long-distance space travel. They immediately see that something went wrong with the previous crew that was aboard the ship, and see an absolute massacre. To save some time, I'm gonna very poorly summarize the rest of it. The entire crew experiences a very bad salvia trip. Near the end of the film, Dr. Ware's the head of the blunt rotation and took too big a hit and started taking everyone through an abridged simulation of Skid Row because his hot dead wife said so. Anything for some demon clam, am I right? Anyway, Ware is all corrupted from demons and stuff. You know that scene in the 2016 Suicide Squad movie where famous pedo and bad actor Jared Leto says that one line about hurting people?
Oh, I'm not gonna kill you. I'm just gonna hurt you. Really, really bad.
Stop the cap.
Yeah, it's just that for the rest of the movie. After all that, Stark and Cooper manage to escape, while Miller sacrifices himself to destroy the Event Horizon via the emergency explosive detachment device that I skipped over because I didn't feel like writing about it. Justin is alive, but just barely, now suspended in a Bacta tank from Star Wars, but slightly more evil. Congratulations, you're caught up now. Let's get to the comic. You know that doctor we mentioned earlier? Yeah, he's here. We begin with Dr. Ware. He's at the funeral of his wife, who has unfortunately passed away due to inflicting harm on herself. This is clearly something that haunts Ware and is something that stays with him. I didn't mention it earlier because I'm lazy, but one of the main causes of Ware's madness was because he kept seeing false visions of his deceased wife in the gravity drive, pulling at his emotional state, his grief, and pulling him towards his eventual descent. No pun intended. We see these visions start to begin and pull at Ware. Then, we see the cause of it all. Paimon, sitting on his throne, calling to Ware. We are taken to the first days of the Event Horizon on its first launch, and we are following our first two characters, quantum physicist Dr. Jennifer Kwan and communication officer Nia Atwell. They're having a discussion about Jennifer's sister, who we learned has died prior to this mission. They go on their way to regroup with everyone else. Jennifer is explaining to the team how the gravity drive works, your typical sci-fi spiel. We are then introduced to the rest of the team, well, at least the main members, and we learn that everyone on this team has some kind of reason for accepting the mission. In order of appearance, we have Lieutenant Sarah Sang, who is evading an abusive partner, Dr. Peter Adjay, who is terminally ill with cancer and nobody else knows, Captain John Kilpack, who carries his guilt from his late father, Chief Engineer Yusuf Quinn, who gets lost in his work and avoids human problems, and Devlin Connors, who carries a secret with him that we will learn about soon. A mere 4 hours before the Event Horizons jump, Nia reads a message sent to her about Devlin's secret. Devlin confronts her about it, and we aren't really told anything beyond the fact that Child unfortunately met their fate because of this incident. They get into a little scuffle, and unfortunately, Nia falls over and strikes the back of her head, killing her instantly. Devlin is sat there in shock just a mere 2 hours before their launch. He is now a suspect of murder without the rest of the team knowing. We are taken back to the bridge where the captain is sending their final message to headquarters before launch. We get back into Ware's headspace and we feel his thoughts about the event horizon and the looming presence over him, the gradual dread taking over his thoughts and the hellish nightmare it will soon become. His late wife manipulated by the darkness, pulling him ever closer towards the void. We are following Devlin, who is now attempting to hide Nia's body. During this sequence, he's having an inner monologue, and we get to take a peek into his past, showing that he had a rough life and was essentially a survivalist, doing everything to keep himself afloat. We then see what the big secret is about. Well, I'll just let this little clip tell you everything. If you didn't catch that, this 500 IQ individual ran over a kid because he couldn't wait to open his email at home. Don't text and drive, kids. We are taken back to the crew's perspective, where they realize that something is very obviously wrong, because, of course, seeing giant disembodied eyes in a sea of red is not in fact normal. Other members of the crew are starting to see horrific visions and are slowly starting to go mad, kickstarting the beginning of this terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. We see the first instance of the true nightmare that awaits us in this comic. The comic shifts us towards Chris, who has very painfully ripped out his eyes in an attempt to escape this literal hell in his mind. Next, we follow Yusuf, who previously had a little altercation with another crew member, being someone who can only understand the mechanisms of machines and not the inner workings of people. He is at the gravity drive to diagnose the problem and begins hearing strange sounds. We move on to Jennifer, who heads out to look for Nia and sees a trail of blood across the floor and follows it. We are then taken back again to Yusuf at the gravity drive. He explains his skills to the captain, emphasizing he's a man of traditional engineering. Being someone who is good at fixing things, great even, but the gravity drive is an entirely different beast, above what he's used to. He opens one of the panels to see the problem and sees a completely grotesque mess of unintelligible red humanoid mass with eyes looking back at him. He can't believe what he's seeing. It's at that moment he sees the gravity drive start to wake up. Not only that, but something is coming out of it. That something is revealed to be Paimon himself, the King of Hell. Caught in a shock, Yusuf explains to him that his job is just to fix the gravity drive. Paimon, being the sadistic creature he is, explains that it's working just fine, since it allowed him to get in, while the captain watches all this in utter horror. Paimon then gives Yusuf a screwdriver, and he drills it into his brain to, quote, fix it. We are now taken back to Jennifer, who finds Devlin, who is sitting in the darkness with Nia's corpse. He's in a distraught state, saying it's an accident, and then he didn't mean to kill him. Jennifer questions what he means by him, then a voice calls out to claim the title. We are then shown the gruesome imagery of Nia's eyeless corpse and the kid that Devlin killed all those years ago, back again to haunt him. This time, we are following Peter's story. We are placed in the middle of his unfortunate cancer diagnosis while he describes the realization of carrying the emotional weight of it all. We are taken back to the event horizon, shrouded in the unspeakable mess that is hell itself, with Peter looking on in disbelief. The captain then decides to give the crew an update on the operation, telling everyone the unfortunate fate of Yusuf and their unfavorable situation. We see a quick moment of Jennifer giving Devlin a well-deserved swift kick to the head and running away. We are taken back to the captain giving his announcement, also revealing the unsettling nature of his situation. He reveals he's been having visions of his long-dead father in the room with him, which we get a very quick and disturbing glance at. He also warns the rest of the crew about the horrors that await along the way. Paimon then proceeds to take something gruesome out of his chest, an indescribable hellspawn that has now run amok across the ship to find its next victim. We see two crew members trying to run for safety until they encounter this hellish beast, who has sealed their fate. It grabs them and fuses them both together and with itself in a form of eternal and gruesome suffering. We are then taken back to Sarah and Peter, witnessing the underworld unfold around them. The creature has found them, and Peter is stood in complete shock. Sarah grabs Peter and saves him before it's too late, while the hellspawn grabs more victims along the way. Next, we see Devlin again, following the sins of his past to the gravity drive, where he is taken to confront Paimon himself, where he is recruited for an unknown task. We are taken back to the other surviving crew members, where they are devising a plan. Sarah wants to use the ship's explosives to get away, while Jennifer says their only way out is the gravity drive. Peter suggests to lead the monster into the airlock to get it out. The captain sees them on the video feed and picks Peter's plan. Peter goes out to suit up, and then is faced with the beast itself face to face before he can finish. With both of them locked into the airlock, Peter is unable to grab his helmet and sacrifices himself to launch the creature out. Past Peter is talking about how he's dealing with his diagnosis and how he feels even more, speaking how he won't let the cancer win even though it's eating away at him, being somewhere where he can be closer to heaven, closer to where he wants to be. With that, unfortunately, the spawn manages to crawl its way back in, as the captain watches on in horror, but that's not all. Paimon is now there to accompany him, telling him that there was truly nothing he could do to lock him out. The captain looks on in horror, knowing that these are his last moments. This time, we are following the captain, John. We get to see a glimpse into his abusive childhood, and are quickly sent back to the event horizon, where great threats await. Paimon is there with him, having him relive all this pain and gruesome death in an endless loop. This is where some of the worst visuals are, so I warn you ahead of time. I will probably try to at least blur them a bit, but we see some of the worst things imaginable. Eyeballs being torn out, faces being ripped. We now get to learn more about John and his upbringing, seeing his abusive father again and seeing the brutality of nature. We get to meet another person in his life, Jeremy. It is then when we find out that John was actually in a gay relationship in his past. Of course, Paimon uses this against him, uses his father against him. His father is revealed, to nobody's surprise, to be homophobic, and abuses John further for being with him. Paimon keeps showing him these visions over and over again, showing that John's father was responsible for beating Jeremy half to death. These horrors keep going on and on and on again, with John's boyfriend being twisted by Paimon, blaming him for everything. These visions continue until he is told to send a message, which leads us to the pivotal message that was used in the original movie. With John revealed in gruesome fashion with his eyes ripped out, he leaves the message, Liberate tutemet ex inferis, or, for those who haven't seen the movie, it loosely translates to, free yourself from hell. Finally, we see that hell itself is starting to get more intense as Paimon continues to play these demonic games for eternity. The final chapter. Or is it? We are finally in the last part of this horrible and wretched mission where I don't have enough vocabulary in my mind to even begin to describe. In this last chapter, we are now focused on Jennifer. We are taken right before the jump at the beginning of this story, where Jennifer is reflecting on what she originally went on this mission for, now having doubts of how she feels. She's having a conversation with Sarah, where we get to learn more about her and her background with her husband, both of them finding common ground. We are taken back to the horrific state of John, naked and mutilated, giving out his final message and mission, to destroy the event horizon. We are shown the horrific path of destruction laid out by Paimon, walls and floors covered in gore, and a pile of mutilated corpses in between Sarah and Jennifer. They both decide to go with their last resort, blowing up the event horizon. We are now shown the gruesome state of Devlin, making a deal with the devil. He's also naked. I honestly don't know why hell has an obsession with people being naked, but anyway. He has lacerated himself with a shard of glass with some kind of cryptic satanic symbols. Paimon then sends him off to kill Jennifer once and for all to end all opposition against his wrath. The two women are in the process of arming the bombs to end this conflict once and for all. getting into an existential discussion about the theory of quantum entanglement, the phenomenon of two or more particles being linked no matter how far they are. Jennifer feels like this is a punishment of not helping her sister when she needed her most, being with her in hell. They make their way to the gravity drive, where they are met with the child and Devlin. Devlin goes to attack Jennifer, and then Sarah thrusts a shard of glass into the side of his head, swiftly ending him. The child then proceeds to tell them that there is no death here. They realize something is very wrong. They came face to face with Paimon himself. Being the taunting prick he is, Paimon tries to tease Jennifer while Sarah is attacked by the Hellspawn. The theory of quantum entanglement has come into play, and the spirit of Jennifer's sister has given her enough time to destroy what is left of the ship. Sarah is being brutally mangled and torn apart, and the bombs are finally set off, bringing an end to the event horizon. Jennifer survives with the help of her sister, now reunited, and that's the end. But Grifter, isn't it a prequel to the movie? Oh yeah, I did say that, didn't I? Don't worry kids, it's not over yet. We are now following Dr. Ware. The hellish vision of his wife wakes him from his sleep and visually transports him to the event horizon, now destroyed. She tells him to come find her on the ship. She proceeds to tell him that the Lord of Resurrection can repair the ship for him. This Lord she speaks of, it's Paimon. It's goddamn Paimon. I think you could have guessed that shit. It's not really complicated. Claire continues to tell Ware to come find her in the ship so they can go home together, and Ware snaps out for a bit asking where she is. She very nonchalantly explains that she is in hell. Ware is in shock and tries to wake himself up, as Claire's cries continue to echo in his mind, taunting him and pulling him ever closer. Okay, now I promise it's over. So that was Event Horizon Dark Descent. I haven't been reading comics as long as other people, but I've always been a fan of straying from the path and trying to get into more unconventional comics. Coincidentally, I watched the movie shortly before this comic was even announced. Riding off the high of the movie, I just immediately had to pick it up. I truly believe this comic has amplified the original movie and has helped reshape how I think about the setting as a whole. I've heard about an unreleased cut about the movie that was originally significantly more gory and disturbing, and honestly this comic really feels like I got a glimpse into what that could have been. I've been really enjoying the idea of using comics as a supplemental medium for movies that may or may not have worked on the big screen. I hope one day we can get a full production movie out of this, or the sequel comic, which I will talk about eventually when it ends. And as of recording this video, Sam Neill, the actor who plays Dr. Ware in the movie, unfortunately passed away. I just wanted to pay my respects to him here and dedicate this video to him. I hope he passed peacefully, and I give my heart out to those who were close to him. With that being said, I hope you all enjoyed my one-shot on the horror comic movie prequel, Event Horizon Dark Descent, and I will see you all in the next video.